within 2 months, I came out to her right away. I'm like, look, I'm bi, or definitely bi at this point. And I'm like, I don't want to mess around behind your back. I want to be ethical about this because I really like you. Like, you're a wonderful person. You're the polar opposite of all these other women that I had been with previously. But this is something I need to do for me to figure out who I am. And she looks at me dead in the eye and she says, and I was all worried that she was not going to be very accepting of my bisexuality. Again, being Southern, being from Florida, coming from a Christian family and all that. And she looks me dead in the eye and she says, babe, you're talking to someone who lost their virginity to a woman. I'm like, whew.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to episode 375. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a wonderful conversation for you all with Jaye. Jaye had his first experience back when he was 18 years old, and it didn't go super well. It was a messy high school experience.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of successful high school non-monogamy stories.
We're all just learning a lot, right?
I think we're all learning a lot all the time, but man, those are tough days. So
yeah. It took several years for him to begin exploring in the non-monogamy world again. But today he has a nesting partner who's also his wife and 2 other partners, and he walks us through how he got there.
Yeah, this is, as Emma said, just a lovely conversation. And Jaye has so much enthusiasm and excitement and joy around non-monogamy, and he takes us through sort of his whole relationship arc, and it has been a ride.
Yes.
So he got started in swinging, and sort of finds himself today in more of just a fluid, open, non-monogamous dynamic. Jaye has also taken this excitement and started hosting his own events. He formed a band, and he's doing all sorts of amazing work in Florida. So please head over to our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com, click on the podcast tab, or there are direct links in your podcast player down below to get to the show notes where you can find information and links to all of Jaye's work and photos of Jaye and his partners, and also all of our other guests that have been on the show for the last years and years and years.
And with that, for anyone who is a premium subscriber, we're going to jump right into the interview with Jaye now. And for anyone else, we do have a couple of quick announcements. First up, if you're not familiar with the premium subscription, it's a way to skip these announcements up front, but don't worry, you still get important dates of upcoming events in the outro. To sign up for the premium subscription, go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, scroll down on the homepage, and you can sign up right there for only $4 a month.
Next up, our next virtual speedfriending event is tonight. That is January 15th, 2025. If you're listening to this on the day it came out, you've still got time to join us. We'd love to have you join us. Every month, we bring a whole bunch of people from all around the world together in Zoom. We put you in small breakout rooms. We ask a fun question to get the conversation started. You talk about it for a few minutes. We scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and we do this over and over and over for about 2 hours. You can find out more and how to sign up over at our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. There's a banner right at the top where you can join, or you can click on the events tab to learn more.
And if you're looking for more opportunities to hang out with like-minded people, we'd encourage you to go check out our virtual community. If you've listened to the show for a long time, or even if you haven't.
Even if you've listened to it for like 3 weeks, you've heard us talk about it a lot.
Finn and I love bringing people together. And so our virtual community is a space to do just that. It is full of over 300 people supporting each other. We use an app called Mighty Networks, and we also host monthly workshops and community calls. And you can sign up for only $5 a month over at our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Click on the community tab.
And the last resource that we want to give you is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. The way that Emma and I have been doing this for years is a service called stdcheck.com. It is ridiculously easy. And when you use the links on our website, you save $10, which brings the cost of a 10-panel test down to only $129. So it's also affordable. It's easy and affordable.
Yes.
What more could you ask for?
Super easy.
And you walk away getting to know your sexual health status so you can communicate that to any people that you might be, hanging out with.
Yeah. Or more.
Or more. You can find those links on the resources tab of our website or directly in your podcast player down below. And a quick reminder that using those links does help support the show. So thank you very much for doing that. And thank you to everybody who has used those links over the years. We really appreciate you.
And finally, a quick reminder to reach out to us, send us a voicemail, send us an email. We would love to hear from you. You can do so over at the Contact Us page of our website. If you want to be a guest on the podcast or if you have any questions or comments for us, please reach out to us.
That's how Jay wound up here.
That is.
All right. So be careful what you email us about, or you might be on the show soon.
But that might be what you want.
And that's what we want.
Right, exactly.
All right. With that, we're going to jump into the interview with Jay. Welcome to the podcast, Jay. We're excited to talk today. We're excited to get our chat on. So welcome to the show. Welcome to the party.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I've been a long time listener, and this day was inevitable.
Yeah, we always love it when we get to talk to people who are like longtime listeners who are excited to be here. We actually just released an episode yesterday with somebody who was just like so excited to be here, and that's awesome. So I always love to do that, and love to have you introduce yourself as well to just kick us off today, Jay.
Yeah, man. So I go by Mr. J or Jay. Just depends on the role I'm playing in the scenario that I might be in. But Mr. J is my stage name. It's kind of like the persona that I tend to put out there. My close friends really know the more intimate me. And, that's kind of how that goes.
Yeah. And what does non-monogamy look like for you today? What is it sort of the flavor you're in, and maybe just sort of the day to day, and then we'll go back in time and we'll figure out how we got here today, where we're at.
Sure. Yeah. So right now, as of 2024, I have 3 partners. I have my wife, Kitty, and she's my nesting partner. My best friend. And then I have a girlfriend. Her name is Lisa. And she and I have been seeing each other pretty regularly since, we met in 2021, but we started dating or seeing each other since about 1.5 years ago. And then I have another friend with benefits / girlfriend that I've been seeing since March. And it's kind of what we got going on here. And I hazard to say always looking for other friends with benefits, other partners, but because I like variety and whatnot. I am an only child too, so that having that companion is always nice. So
yeah, yeah, I love that. And just for I'm just curious, on the day to day, how do you sort of juggle it all at the moment?
Yeah, I'm actually pretty fortunate. So again, the wife and I, Kitty and I, we live together, and we've been together 9 years now. So I see her every day. As far as Lisa, she actually lives in North Carolina. She's been taking care of her sick mom. She had to uproot her life here in Florida and move up there and take care of her sick mom for the unforeseeable future. So that kind of put a damper on our relationship as it was growing. But so she's more of a tertiary / comet partner right now. So Jess, I see her probably once a month, and actually at bi parties we go to regularly. She's been a companion that we've been going to these parties for since April. So she's a really good friend and a really good person, and it's a new relationship, but it's got its foundation, so it's going pretty well so far.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I love how it sounds like you and sort of your orbit let things sort of be a little bit fluid, right?
Yes.
Like with Lisa, when life changes, it's not, oh well, you're leaving, good riddance. It's, well, let's figure out what we can be now. And I don't know, I love that sort of fluidity.
Trust me, it was it was not easy. It is not easy.
Yeah.
Because it was one of those things where we got together, we met and we had a lot of fun, and we were just friends with benefits. And then we, at that point, where every relationship gets, we have that conversation okay, is this going to keep going, or is this just going to stay what it is? And we had the conversation, and it just kept growing, and it was on an upward trajectory. And then she got the bad news that she would have to move. And well, I looked her right in the eye. I'm like, well, this is not going to end us. This is just we're going to adapt to it, and we're going to cherish our time together when we have time together. Yeah. And instead of seeing each other once a month or twice a month, we're seeing each other 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah.
And it's the time apart that we've had in the past kind of strengthened our relationship in a way. So longer extended periods of time, it's really no big deal. I mean, it sucks that we're apart, and we talk to each other every single day, through text messages. But it hasn't really hurt our relationship. I wouldn't say it's enhanced it either. It's just we're on autopilot right now, and when we do see each other, it grows, it keeps growing. So
yeah.
I think sometimes it's really important to be able to let a relationship sort of shift and grow with life, rather than forcing life to adapt to the relationship in some ways, right? Like, not that can't happen, but sometimes Absolutely. It is okay to just be like, this is the ride we're on, and we're going to make the most of it, rather than fight it and be angry and
adapting to
it.
life.
Yeah,
100%. And it's not her fault that her sisters were unwilling to step up and do what she has to do, and she's the youngest, and that's just kind of how it falls sometimes. That's how the cookie crumbles, as they say.
The way the cookie crumbles, exactly. Yeah.
I'm curious, Jay, if we can go back in time, kind of where did non-monogamy first, or alternative relationships in some ways start, kind of enter your life? Or
okay. Well, it actually started pretty early, and it's a long, complicated story, but that's why we're here. That's so right. Here we go.
Yes, that is why we're
here. Okay, so I grew up in New England, in a small town of about 20,000 people, mostly Catholic French people. I was raised, I don't want to say a conservative household, because my father was very... New England being as blue as it is, and especially in Massachusetts in particular. And my parents were not blue people, but they weren't red people either. They were very moderate people. Mm-hmm. My dad in particular, my mom a little more red than my dad. We'll just leave that at that. But anyway, so, growing up in Massachusetts, we were the gay state and all that stuff. And, so it was a progressive area. And I was raised with the to each their own attitude, and, let people be, and leave me alone, Yeah. So anyway, I knew people in the I don't want to say non-monogamy lifestyle, because we were just in high school, but there were definitely people who were homosexuals, bisexuals, lesbians, and they dated around and had multiple partners. And anyway, I was an athlete, and it was really weird being an athlete in that time period, and I don't know if I had expressed this in my emails to you, but I am bi, and that's a whole nother story. Which we'll get to.
I was going to say, we'll get there.
Weave it right in.
Yeah, so anyway, but as far as like the non-monogamy thing goes, so anyways, I dated this girl who was in drama club, and she was, I would guess bi. She never came out, but she, had shown, what we say, like hints or clues that she was just. So anyway, we were dating, and she got in really serious trouble with the school and got expelled. And we'll just call her Zoe, by the way. So Zoe got expelled from school, and I won't go into too much detail. But anyway, we had a discussion that things were in our relationship. Again, we were at that point where, is this going to keep going, or is this going to stop? So we had a discussion where she says, well, I think what we should do for the sake of our relationship is I think we should consider being together, but also seeing other people. And I was a little put off by that, because I'm like, well, like, I love you. Like, and it, to me at that time in my life, it was real love, is what we are shown what love is as far as media and societal standards go.
Yeah.
So anyway,
well, and real love means you are, it's one person, or I mean,
correct.
more directly, one man, one woman for many of us, right?
Right.
Yeah.
100%. Especially again, this is 2005, 2004, 2005. We're talking too.
Yeah.
So about 20 years ago. Right. Exactly. I mean, I'm only 18. She's 18, and I know we're young, but I know it's real. It feels real. So anyway, she says, "How about we consider going this route where we're together, but we also see other people and date other people?" And I was unsure about it, but I said, "Okay, like I trust you and I love you and I know it's going to work." And we had a good foundation. So I went with it. And anyway, make a long story short, a couple weeks later, I'm at the gym. I'm working out because, again, I'm an athlete. And I run into an old childhood friend of mine who I hadn't seen in a while. And it was like we had never been separated. And we just really clicked. And it was like she was like a godsend to me, for lack of better terms. So I went, as soon as I found out about or rekindled that friendship, I went straight to Zoe and I said, "Hey, look, this is going on. I saw so and so at the gym, and I would like to go out, and if that's okay." And she said, "Sure." She says, I can't go anywhere because she was being punished for her issues at school. So anyway, she says, "I can't go out, but I want you to be able to experience things and do things." So Lila and I went to Six Flags and we spent the day there, and Zoe knew where I was, who I was with, and when I'd be home. However, my mom did not. And yeah, and because there was history with Lila and her family and my family, and I just didn't want to go through all that crap with my mom and talking about it. So it was better left unsaid. Well, that was my mistake. So anyway, we're at the Six Flags for the day, and by noon my phone's dead just because this is flip phone era and batteries lasted like 4 hours.
Just getting all them selfies on the Razor phone. It drains
right. So anyway, we ended up leaving, plugging my phone in the car charger on the way home, and I see there's 30 missed calls from my mom because she's all worried about me. So and there's like 10 messages. So I just delete, get down to the last message. And my mom the message says, "I called Zoe and she told me you're at Six Flags with Lila, and she's freaking out." And I'm just, so anyway, I deleted the message and then I immediately call Zoe and I'm like, "Hey, did my mom called you? I got the messages." And she says, "Yeah, your mom called me." And she says, and she got all mad. And I'm like, "What did I do? I disclosed to you that where I was, who I was with, and when I'd be home." And she said, "That doesn't matter." She says, "Because you lied to your mom, what is that? Does that mean you'll lie to me in the future?" And I'm like, so anyway, she decides to break it off. And she didn't give me a chance to explain myself and tell her the context of why I didn't tell my mom. And anyway, and I think in addition to that, I found out later that there was a gentleman she was interested in, but he was not interested in her. So the jealousy factor that I had a potential secondary partner and she didn't, kind of turned her off. And she's like, "Well, we're done." And I'm like, "But I love you." And anyway, so.
And we're still 18. We're still 18, just for everybody listening. Like,
we're still 18.
High school, like, what the fuck drama? Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And but we had known each other since we were freshmen or sophomores, so it was young love, And
at that point, it's a big deal.
It is 100%,
because at that point in your life, that's a fifth of your life with somebody. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, after that relationship ended, I went off to college and had a Division I football scholarship and all that. And I met the woman who I say is the love of my life, but don't tell Kitty that. No, I'm just kidding. Kitty knows all about this person. So Justine and I, we just really hit it off, and it was a great relationship. But again, it was young love.
Because you're in college at this point and you meet her there.
Correct. And anyways, Justine and I were together for about a year. And I was at this point where in my career with football that I don't want to say I was innocent or perfect or anything like that, because I didn't really have the drive to make it at that level, but I did. and then just maintaining, because at that level, it's not a game; it's a lifestyle, and there's a lot of politics involved. And I don't mean like left right politics. I just mean like, does the coach like you, or does the coach not like you? And if he doesn't like you, well, then he can just take your scholarship away. And there's other various factors that I won't go into detail because it's not relevant to this conversation. But anyway, I was in a very stressful point. So I was transferring schools, and I had to give up my career with sports, and the relationship was had some tension, and it too was at that point. Do we continue or do we end? So we just decided to mutually end, and we went our separate ways. So again, we were monogamous. There was no non-monogamy there. The next person was Brittany, and she was a physically abusive individual, which caused some trauma for me. So Brittany and then June were 2 back-to-back relationships in my mid-20s, and it was 5 years total, 18 months with Brittany, and then the remaining time was with June. And both were abusive in their own ways. Brittany physically and emotionally, and then June was also emotionally and controlling and things. And it started out good, and everything, but then the cheating started, and I forgave her, and then I held it against her, and it just went toxic very quickly. And decided to say, hey, let's start. After we both graduated college, I was like, hey, let's start a new life. Let's start over, clean slate. Okay, just me and you. Move to Florida. We'll start a new life here. And land of opportunity.
This was with June.
This is with June, yes. And this is 2012, 2013.
Okay.
So just so we have a timeline here. And, so she says, okay, well, let's do it. So one thing led to another. So it went from June and I to her best friend, Kelly, and then Kelly's boyfriend, Joseph. Okay, so it ended up being the 4 of us all moving down here together. And we moved to the least desirable part of Florida, at least in my opinion. And it was Gainesville, Florida. And I say least desirable because there's nothing there. There's the university. When you think of Florida, you think of beaches and sunshine and surf and like the laid back Daytona Beach kind of lifestyle. Well, that wasn't Gainesville at all. It was college football, and it was football and the Gators and the university. And if you weren't part of that culture or that group of individuals, you weren't really like
wasn't for you.
Yeah.
You just weren't part of the club. It was kind of like a lot like the Northeast where I grew up. Like if you didn't have the right last name, you weren't going to be part of the club.
Yeah.
So anyway, after a couple failed attempts at trying to get into UF, June decided, I just don't really like living in Florida anymore. I just want to move home. So, and then, like I said, the relationship had been toxic by that point. And so I just said, look, I want to stay. I just have this inner feeling that's telling me we need to stay here. I don't know if it was what it was. I just knew there's a thing in the back of my head that's saying, you need to stay. You need to stay because this is what's right for you. So anyway, after about 6 months of on and off fights and other various drama, she throws me out of the apartment. And she says, don't come back until tomorrow after work. And so I respect her wishes, packed up my bag. I went and stayed at a friend's house, come back the next day. All of her shit is gone. Everything.
Wow.
She even took the ice cube trays. So
in Florida, nonetheless. I mean, that's a low blow.
Right. So anyway, I just was like, you know what? Like, I took a minute. I took a step back. Oh, and by the way, I'm living with her best friend and her best friend's boyfriend. So it's me and them. Okay. Now that was awkward to begin with.
Yeah. I'm sure this made it less awkward.
Oh yeah, totally. And I forgot to leave out some actually very crucial details about why I am the way I am right now. So June was the type of person who liked to use sex as a weapon. And for basically the 2 years that we lived in Florida together, we had sex maybe 3 or 4 times. When we did do it, it was very like a guilt trip. And again, is like I said, she used it as a weapon. So I was deprived of sex, and I was also at the time, I was curious about things and trying things that I had never even crossed my mind. Again, because I had been monogamous my entire life up until that point, with the exception of Zoe, right? So anyway, and the idea of a third or two other people had come up in conversation with June, but it was only conversation. It would never grow from that point. So anyway, after she left, I tell people she abandoned me, and really she did, because I just come home and she's gone. Everything's gone. So I took a step back, and I really took a chance to evaluate myself and what would make me happy. And I knew that staying here, first and foremost, would make me happy. Secondly, I decided, you know what? I don't really have my own personality, because, again, I'm 26, 27, 28. I had been a serial monogamist up until that point. And I decided I need to make my own personality. I need to become my own person. And I need to figure some shit out. And I want to try things that I've always been curious about, like bisexual things. So I ended up meeting up with a friend who actually she was the same friend that let me sleep on her couch the night I was thrown out. And her name is Brandy. And Brandy really helped me open my mind. She asked me a lot of questions that no other woman I had ever asked me before. Now, Brandy, I think, was 4 or 5 years older than me. So I'm 27, 28. So I think she was probably 44, 45, maybe 5, 6, 7 years older than me.
30 mid-30s or mid-40s?
I'm sorry. Yeah. I was 27 and Brandy was in her mid-30s.
Okay.
So yeah, she was, and Brandy was great. Like, she was so friendly. She was really nice. And she too was starved of sexual activity because, well, she'd been raising 3 sons for the last 17 years at that point, and alone as a single mom for the last 6 years or 7 years. So she was just as horny as I was. And so anyway, she's asking me questions about sexual acts with men and group things. And I'm like, yeah, like I've always wanted to try that and do that. So she decides, you know what, let's create a SLS profile or one of these websites. Mm-hmm. So we did. And we met a couple on there, and we went out and we met them just at a strip club, because we had no idea what we were doing. We didn't know there was any lifestyle clubs or anything in this area. Yeah. And or at least in the Gainesville area. I'm still in the Gainesville area at this time.
And had you two
yes.
started exploring together, just sort of as a way to support and get that
100%?
Yeah, totally.
100%. And it was funny because like literally I come home after June left, and I call her and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And she says, we're done. And I'm like, okay. And that was it. I hung up. And I call Brandy. I'm like, hey, guess what? My ex is gone. She's now officially my ex. Let's get together. So we literally that night we got together. I don't think June was even north of the Mason-Dixon line, and I was already in bed with Brandy.
Well, she had ice cube trays, I assume. I mean,
she totally did. She gave me nice cold beverages and back rubs and all that good stuff.
And you were both starved for that too.
Yeah,
100%. So we were two people that had been starved for physical intimacy and emotional connection, and she was there for me as I was there for her. And so when we got together, we had that conversation right up front. We're like, look, this is just fun because you just got out of a 4-year relationship, and I'm not looking for anybody because I got my kids. And I'm like, I am totally cool with that. Let's just see how it goes. Let's just have some fun. So so we get back we get on the websites and we find this couple. We meet them at a strip club. We had like all people that are new to the lifestyle. We're just like, this might be our only opportunity to do it, so let's just do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we sit down and we sit down with the two of them, and I told them straight, I'm like, look, I'm bi-curious. This is what I would like to do. And she says, well, my husband, he's straight as an arrow, but he's willing to let you suck his dick. And her voice really did sound like that, by the way. And I'm like, yeah, like I'm totally cool with that. Like, let's if he's willing to do it, I'm willing to do it. So anyway, we go back to the hotel and we did our thing. And let's just say he was not straight after that. At least I joked that he wasn't. But anyway, we had a good time, and they ended up being. Their personalities were a little more attractive than the physical appearance, which again, physical things aren't really that important. But
yeah.
Anyway, so on the drive home, Brandy and I were like, wow, this was great. We should do this again. So we did it again a couple more times with other people. And fast forward about 6 months, Brandy and I, we just, I don't want to say we drifted apart because we're still friends to this day, but it was morphed more into a platonic thing. So here we are, dated a few women, and then I met Kitty. And Kitty and I got together, and within 2 months I came out to her right away. I'm like, look, I'm bi, or definitely bi at this point. And I'm like, I don't want to mess around behind your back. I want to be ethical about this because I really like you. Like, you're a wonderful person. You're the polar opposite of all these other women that I had been with previously. But this is something I need to do for me to figure out who I am. And she looks at me dead in the eye and she says, and I was all worried that she was not going to be very accepting of my bisexuality. Again, being Southern, being from Florida, coming from a Christian family and all that. And she looks me dead in the eye and she says, babe, you're talking to someone who lost their virginity to a woman. I'm like, whew. I'm like, that made me feel so much better. So I told her all my experiences up to that point, with couples and a few solo male experiences. And that was that. And, so she said, well, let's take at least the first year to get to know each other, build a solid foundation, really build something real. And I said, okay, I'm totally okay with that. I can take the debauchery and put it on the back burner for a year and build a nice solid foundation. So that's exactly what we did. We've built a really solid foundation. We actually took a communication class at the University of Florida. It was actually a federally sponsored class, so we didn't have to pay anything, and it was great. Like, it taught us how to communicate and how to be transparent, and it wasn't geared towards non-monogamous people. It was actually geared towards people who were trying to fix their marriage. And it was Kitty's idea. She says, we should take this class. And she says to me, if you really want to do this, then we need to take this class. And I said, I am totally okay with that. So we took the class, and, we grew on that. And it wasn't until about Kitty and I started dating in November of 2015. And we went to our first lifestyle party in December 2016. So it was about 13 months later. And anyway, we went, and the joke in our inner circle of friends is that, well, the first time Kitty went to the lifestyle club, she wore a turtleneck. But she was dressed, very conservatively. And, I was a little more like open-minded and I don't want to say I was ready to jump the gun or anything, but I was definitely like, I'm glad we're here. I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. However, at the time, we're both very shy people. We were kind of wallflowers. And so anyway, we went to this club. It was called Bob's Hot Spot at the time. And it was Bob's Hot Spot was a good hour and a half away from where we were living at the time. So
also, that name is awesome.
That's a solid name. Yeah.
And I'll get to Bob. Bob was a really cool guy.
Anyway, go on.
No, it's all right. So what was great was that we had an hour and a half drive each way. So that gave us time to communicate and talk and you're not supposed to go in with any expectations, but we set the expectation for the night. Like, okay, like tonight, let's talk to somebody.
Mhm.
Tonight, let's, maybe we'll get in the hot tub. Tonight, maybe we'll get in the hot tub naked, something like that. Just really baby steps. It was real gradual baby steps. And we would also listen to podcasts. We listened to several podcasts on the drives to and from these events, again, to really help establish that foundation.
Yeah.
So anyway, we had been going for about a year, and we met this couple, Lissa and her partner at the time. We won't mention his name. They had been together for about 3 years at that point, and Lissa was poly, and she had been poly for her entire relationship with her husband. And her husband had, at least now, have been married 24 years. So and poly for a good 20 of those years, So anyway, when we met her, she says, "Oh yeah, this is my boyfriend, and my husband is back home with his girlfriend." And we're like, "What?" And we're like, "That's weird." And I had my taste in the whole non-monogamy, so I kind of knew what she was talking about. But Kitty was like, "Really? Like, I don't think I could ever see myself doing that." So anyway, a good 3 years go by, and we just went to Bob's hotspot. And we would always hang out with Lissa and her friend, or her partner. And they were really the only people we were comfortable hanging out with and talking with. And they eventually, again, over a 3-year period, they had a lot of patience. They had a lot of, they just were really true, genuine people. They saw us for who we were, and they gave us a shot where other couples, because of our inexperience or our shyness, would have just brushed us off. And we had been brushed off a couple times.
Yeah.
So we finally played with them for the first time after going to the club for about 2.5 to 3 years.
Wow.
And it was great. And personally, I was at the point where, like, okay, Kitty, like, we need to take the plunge, because we've been coming here for 3 years, and I'm very patient.
I'm a part owner. It's going to pretty soon be called Jay's hotspot, and I'd love to.
Right. And we've been going once a month for 2.5, 3 years. So it was like I sat down, I'm like, Kitty, it's time. We need to do it. We need to take the plunge, and so we did. And after the plunge was taken, we reflected on, we reconnected, and like, so how did you feel? Like, did you had fun? She said, "Oh yeah, I had a great time." I'm like, "Good." I'm like, "How would you feel about keep going?" So she says, "Okay, let's keep going." So we kept going. Within a year, we were playing separately, just because of our flow dynamics. Kitty is even still to this day, she's a little cautious.
Mhm.
She's more of a demisexual, we've come to learn. Where me, I'm a little bit more like, I'm more adventurous. And again, at the time, I was like, okay, I've put all my desires and my urges on hold for the last 4 years at that point. I'm like, I need to start expressing them and figuring it out. So we decided to start playing separately, and that's kind of where the gloves came off, if you will. And I kind of went a little hog wild for the next. So that was 2019. So or 2020. So 2020 is when we started playing separately. So I decided to really just kind of take I like to use that Spinal Tap analogy. I turned the dial to 11. And I broke the knob off for a little while. So for the next 3 years, it was Kitty and I'd go off, and we'd go to events together. And she would hang out with Lissa and her partner, and I'd go off and do my thing. And she was always with them, and she was like their third by proxy. That was kind of the joke. So I got to experience my thing and do my thing and make connections. And So that's how that went. So 20, and that was good first year and a half.
Yeah.
So then,
real quick,
yes.
I love that you two took, I mean, the steps to open your relationship were, right, you started with a class on communication. Right out the gate,
and a year.
You started actually right out the gate, right? You start with open communication about your sexuality. She's talking about hers. You get to a point of like, if we're going to truly do this, we need to shore up the foundation, and then even just going. I mean, one of the things we've told people for so long on the show is if you want to get into this, like one of our first things we would say, depending on how you want it to look, but to go to a sex club or a swinging club and just be there, just go be in the environment, see what 100%. It's like, get a feel for it. And that you two did that for a couple of years, I think is amazing. Right. And at that point, it's like, okay, hey, I imagine it wasn't like this hard pressure, like if shit or get off the pot, kitty, but like, hey, we've been coming here for 3 years. What's gonna like? Could we give it a try, right? And I imagine,
trust me, Finn. Like we had several hard conversations where some tears were cried from on both ends.
Yeah.
Like I remember this one time, we went and to be 100% honest, Kitty was being a stick in the mud, and I just was direct communication, always direct communication. I'm like, look, Kitty, you're being a stick in the mud. And she got all crying and upset. And, then I cried because I made her cry. And, I apologized profusely and she forgives me. And I says, but look, you got to trust me and trust our relationship and trust the love that we have for each other, the respect we have for each other, trust what we've built. And she did. And then, it was probably 2 or 3 months later is when we finally did play with Lissa and her partner. So, she, like I said, baby steps were a big thing.
Baby steps and mistakes, right? It's the, 100%. That's not how I say it. I got to try it right. And it's so
100%.
Much of this. I mean, we've been, how many of those fights at the sex club have you witnessed in your time being there, right?
Oh, Finn, if you only knew, not between Kitty and I, we actually get a lot of people telling us like, hey, you guys have like a really strong relationship because we don't fight, we don't argue. We've never, I think in the 9 years we've been together, we've raised our voice to each other maybe 2 or 3 times. It's really one of those special relationships. I always tell people in the vanilla world and the pineapple world that my wife Kitty and I have a very unique relationship, and we really do.
Yeah.
But it was funny when we first started going and things, and we started playing and separately and things. A lot of people, because of Kitty's demeanor at the time, they were like, I don't think she's really into this. I think she's just doing it for him. When in fact, it was not. She was not doing it for me. She was doing it for us as a couple. And Lissa really stepped up and defended us and really proved herself to be a true friend in those instances.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I would just say too, right? That I mean, to say that people were curious or concerned about that is super valid, right? In this space, I mean, the number 100%. Of times we've been to these events, and you feel that, and you don't.
One person is there.
Yeah, one person is sort of there under duress, and you can't. But you don't really know, right? I think sometimes we assume it, and it's probably wrong, and sometimes we miss it, and that's really what's happening. So it's not an unlikely thing to be happening. So it's good that people were looking out for it, but it's also hard when you're on the receiving end.
I'm not going to lie. And in our time, we've actually had similar thoughts about other couples that we've met, because that's just human nature,
Yeah.
But so this is where the story starts to get a little more interesting. So we've been playing separately.
It's interesting until, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting story in general, but this is where the poly I joked for the first 2 years we call it poly light.
Yeah.
But this is where the polyamory, ethical non-monogamy kind of really stepped up.
Alrighty, I'm
ready. So anyway, I while we were going to these parties at Hotspot and meeting people, we ended up forming a friend group, and it was a good 20 people. So we met this woman, Nancy, and she was a little bit older. I think she was oh Lord, I think she's 14 years older than I am. And for the record, I'm 2 years older than Kitty, so not that matters, but so Nancy is 14 years older than I am. And Nancy, when we met, she had just finalized her divorce from her husband of I think 20 years or maybe 18 years. Single mom, teacher, and she too was starved. She was in a similar situation that I was in. She was starved of sexual connections and things, and we started hanging out because I would go out and play separately and things like that. So I approached Kitty and I said, "Hey, like, how would you feel about instead of the two of us going out? How would you feel about me going out with Nancy?" And Kitty, being the type of person who would rather stay home and cuddle up with the dog and read a book, was all for it. She says, "Go on, go ahead, have fun." And I said, "Okay, well, so I'll be back at blah, 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 anyway." So I started going out with Nancy and we started going to Hotspot, and we actually eventually found another party group on the west coast of Florida called buyevents.com. Actually, my friend Ricky, he hosts bi play parties for bi couples and bi singles. No straight men allowed. Sorry, Finn.
Oh. I'm so glad these spaces exist, and I'm glad you found one.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But so anyway, we started going to these parties, and our friendship grew. And I think I actually heard about it on one of your episodes about the 7 types of love. So I read that article, and Nancy read that article, and Kitty ended up reading that article, and so we kind of learned a little bit. And then I was listening to your program regularly too. So at this point, this is 2021, 2022. So Nancy and I figure I'm very in touch with my emotions, and by this time, I am very in touch with my emotions, and I can differentiate the difference between the hot, passionate love and the what's pragmatic. I have a lot of pragmatic love for Kitty, but the pragmatic and the hot, passionate love that I have for Kitty, and then I also had the hot, passionate love, but more of a platonic friendship love for Nancy. I think considering the situation, what she had gone through, I don't think we were on the same wavelengths, and she also had some jealousy issues. And so what really stands out that actually Kitty and I still talk about to this day is it was my birthday celebration, and we were at Secrets Hideaway in Kissimmee, which I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Heard of it,
but,
yep.
Okay, great. So anyway, we're there for my birthday celebration. We had our group, our 20-person group there. We're all having a good time and everything. And so it's the morning we're leaving. And I've been up all night having sex with all of our friends and just having a good time. So I just really needed like 5 minutes to myself. And I was going to take a shower. I think Kitty was in the bathroom at the time and didn't hear this conversation between Nancy and I, but Nancy asked, "Hey, do you want to take a shower?" And I said, "No, like I just need 5 minutes to myself, just to clear my head, just to get back to that normal mindset, post-party mindset, So anyway, I get in the shower. I'm in there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then here comes Kitty, and she comes in and she joins me. And I don't tell her to get out. I say, "Hey, like, come on in," and we take a shower together. While this all happens, Nancy's in the corner stewing about it, getting, angry and jealous and frustrated. And
yeah, there's some hurt feelings there.
100%. And, anyway, so there was some jealousy there. And then the complications with the, I guess, miscommunication on what kind of love was had. So the relationship really did a 180. And we decided to go our separate ways. Basically, that's the short version anyway. So fast forward about 2 months months, 3 months, 6 months, something like that. I don't know. It's all a blur now, but that's when I met Lisa, and it really we met at Hotspot at this point, and she had been freshly divorced as well. I'm like, I'm not gonna make that mistake again. So I just we met and we had fun, and we formed a good friendship, and it was just strictly sexual, but going out once a month, seeing each other once a month. It was always whenever I was there, she was there, we would hook up, and it just grew from there. And fast forward to now, and Kitty we're on field, and she's on field, and she sees gentleman suitors quite frequently. And she has, I think, 2 or 3 potential suitors. And I say potential because Kitty likes to take baby steps, and but she's seen two gentlemen on dinner dates and had them over the house while I'm either out of town for work or at an event or something like that. And so Kitty on her end has really grown, as have I. So we've really we've come a long way in the time we've been together, and I think non-monogamy has really strengthened our relationship, and I don't see our lives in any other way. And I honestly feel that if we had gone the monogamous route, we probably would have broke up years ago, just because I have those urges and I had those things I needed to do to figure out who I was. And so I think I thank the universe, I thank God, I think whatever the higher power is, I thank that entity for giving me Kitty and giving us the ability to communicate and to be who we are. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm very grateful. So
yeah, and I think too, right, Jay, is to not just to be who you are, but to have the grace with each other to sort of fumble through that at times, right?
Oh yeah.
There's misses, and then also with everybody else that comes through your orbit through as you're all learning, right? This is something Emma and I were just talking about the other days, like how many of our experiences in the past where like we did something shitty or we hurt somebody or we,
Sure.
miscommunicated, and we're like learning all along, and we, in some ways we leave like a little path of destruction, and in others it's just like we're also part of other people's path. Like we're all just sort of bouncing around trying to figure life out, and we do that whether it's monogamy, non-monogamy, sports, whatever the thing is that we're learning to do. There's a learning curve, and we just trying to do it with like the most love and care we can with the information we have at the moment, and we're
100%.
learning that as we go, and especially in a world where nobody's teaching us most of this stuff because it's all taboo and horrible and let's sweep it under the rug. So
100%.
your access to information is even less, and so there's even like more room for hurt and
absolutely. And you know what was a really good resource for us was the friendships that we made, like Lissa and her husband, we'll call him Ronnie. They they were a really good resource to us, and Lissa mostly for the beginning, but Ronnie didn't start coming around until about 2 years ago, just because he's shy. He's like Kitty, he's very shy and keeps to himself. So Ronnie and Lissa started dating this couple, Chuck and Lindsay, and they started off as very interesting. They started off being open, and we actually, again, part of our friend group. So Chuck and Lindsay are married. Ronnie and Lissa are married, but Chuck and Lissa date, and Lindsay and Ronnie date. Okay. And Chuck and Lissa are open and swing, but Ronnie and Lindsay are closed off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everybody does it differently, right?
100%. 100%. But it's funny because we all go out we call them the poly fam. So the poly fam, Kitty and I, we all go out, and it's always a good time, and it's funny because I know that Kitty is always safe with Ronnie and Lindsay, and when Chuck and Alyssa go do their thing, you know. And now we call it our polycule. It's kind of grown, you know. So now we have 2 other couples that are part of it, and we're always looking for more to join in the fun. So it's mostly swinging dynamics and friendships and things, but with the potential for emotional connections, you know.
Yeah, like what you've built with Lisa, right?
Correct. 100%. Yeah. Lisa was like I said earlier, Lisa was a good source and a foundation. And her and I were both only children. You know, we're both very extroverted. We're both very open to having a good time. You know, we I don't know what I mean. We're those people. We attract. Well, let's just say when her and I go out together, a lot of weird shit happens. We attract the crazies sometimes. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we like to have fun. And like I said, our poly fam has really grown, and you know, I can't say enough about it. I think one thing I would like to touch on is my own personal development. So when
me too. My next question is going to be what is the like maybe 1 or 2 of the things that you've really discovered and learned about yourself, since that was really
oh man, Finn, I'll tell you what, man, like, so when I started out again, when Kitty and I first started going out, we were both wallflowers. We were both very shy. Like, I mean, we'd prefer to meet our people online, but when we did meet people online, it was just never work. You know, it was just doomed. So when we started going to lifestyle clubs and things, we'd just pretty much stick together. So when we started playing separately, I'm like, okay, well, and then going to the bi parties, the bi events, bi parties, I knew that if I was going to go by myself, I knew that I had to talk to people, or else I wouldn't have any fun. I'd be that creepy guy that's sitting in the corner over there. So what I learned very quickly was that the bi events parties was that being a single bi male in the bisexual world is equivalent to being a unicorn in the straight party world. So I was a hot commodity, and I made sure that whenever I went to a party, I introduced myself to every single couple, every single person that was there, so I could cast a wide net, if you will. So for doing that by myself for a good 2 years really helped me develop my personality and helped me grow and become more extroverted. And I fulfilled a lot of fantasies at those parties. And my friend Ricky, he changed my life, you know, in a good way, partially made me who I am today. You know, I'll tell you one story real quick was, this was probably about, like my 4th or 5th party going. By that point, I hadn't topped. I had only ever bottomed. And there was this individual there who, well, let me tell you how the party works. So the way Ricky's party works is 8 o'clock is when the party starts. Typically, people arrive between 8 o'clock and 10 p.m. At 10 p.m., he locks the door, so no more admittance. And then he stops the party. We all gather in a circle, and we go around the room. We do what he calls a round robin. And during the round robin, you basically say your name, where you're from, what your position is, and then you say what your likes are, your dislikes, your hard limits, anything you might be willing to try, yada, 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 as they say on Seinfeld, right? So anyway, I met this individual there who said that there were a human doll. I had never experienced or met someone that was a human doll before, but this individual wore like a Barbie like plaster mask with real human hair, and like really like I was like, wow, like this is serious, you know. Bedazzled dress, high heels, and things. And so, anyways, this individual made topping for me the transition a little bit easier, if you will. And then since then, I mean, I've topped numerous times, and I know what I like. You know, like when I'm topping, it's typically men 24 to 30, athletic builds, you know, younger, no beards, no facial hair. If I'm bottoming, it's typically generally older gentlemen, things like that. So I don't kiss men. Never liked it, never will. That's a hard limit for me. But everything else, I'm totally good with. But yeah, no. As far as going back to the parties, yeah, no, they really helped me come out of my shell. And now, after going for 3.5, 4 years, I don't meet a stranger. I can go in a bi setting. I don't meet a stranger. I'll go out and I'll meet people. I'll talk to anybody. In a straight setting, I'm still a little more reserved because bisexuality and the lifestyle still has its taboos in certain places. But I just let it roll off my back, and if, as they say, if they care about me being bi, then they don't matter. But if they don't care, then they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's almost like you telling someone else something, that piece of information about you, that their reaction tells you what you need to know about them, right?
100%. I actually have a really good story. So this is so as far as my chronological time, this story happened shortly after Brandy and I did our thing, but before I met Kitty. So I had I created my own profile on one of these lifestyle websites. I was invited to a party by this couple. It was at their house, and they had been hosting parties for decades. So they were a little bit older. They said they had a good range of people between 45 to 65. And I'm young, I'm open-minded. Age is only a number as long as you're over 25 to me, even still to this day. But yeah, I drove 3 hours to this party. It was a long drive. We'll just say that. It was a very long drive. So I drive up there, and again, I'm in my infancy, so I'm curious, and I want to make sure that all opportunities are on the table, but I also don't want to be in your face because I've never been that kind of person. I've always been just not passive aggressive either, but just passive. Like, so anyway, I wore a bracelet, a bi pride bracelet. It was just the pink, purple, and blue bracelet. Nothing else. Okay. Nothing else saying I'm bi. It was just a small little flag. And I go up to the house, get into the house, and she had like a little window where she'd take your donation, and then she'd let you in. So I walk up to the window, and she sees the bi pride bracelet, and she looks me dead in the eye, and she says, "Oh, you're one of those people." She says, "Your kind aren't welcome here.
Oh my God.
I suggest you leave." Yeah, she says, "I suggest you leave." And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, wait a minute. You told me you like single men at your parties. You told me that you didn't care what I looked like. And then you told me that, what else did she say? She said, I can't remember at the top of my head, but I ended up saying to her, isn't this lifestyle supposed to be about open-mindedness and trying new things and figuring out what you like and what you don't like? And she says, "Oh, it is, but we don't allow faggots here." And she turned me away. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened? And I left. I'm like, fuck this lady. Like, she's going to judge me based on a bracelet? Like, I'm not going to force nothing on anybody. If anything, I'm respectful to a fault. But she made this assumption about me because I'm wearing pride colors,
And
So anyway, go ahead.
No, I just like, that's so fucking, I mean, at any point in your journey, that's devastating and horrific. But when you're right at the beginning of like trying to figure it out, you're still tentative and shy and like, oh, can I show this part of me? And you're like, I'm going to do the bare minimum. And then you're immediately like fuck that, man. I'm so sorry, Jay.
Yeah. It's okay. You know what, Finn? Fuck that lady. Like she missed out. Okay. Like, and I found a community now where, like I said, Ricky's parties, his bi events parties, they grew from 20 couple. Well, it was 20 people. Like the first one I ever went to was 20 people. It grew from 20 people. Now he averages like 40 or 50 couples per event. And we're actually going to Hedonism in 2 weeks. will be there for bye week, and it's actually his second full takeover and third year of doing events there.
Wow.
And and it's grown to the point now where he's actually doing 2 a year. He's doing one in October and he's doing one in April. So the April one, this will be the inaugural year this April. It's probably going to be a split takeover, but probably 2026 will be a full takeover. So he got blessed in the sense of he found a niche where he can cater to the bi community and the lifestyle community, and he's filling that void, and he's doing good things. He's doing good work. He's changed people's lives, and mine is one of them.
Well, it shows you how many people want that space, right?
Oh, 100%. And I'll tell you what. So I as far as like the derogatory things and being mistreated and things, like the club that I mentioned earlier, Hotspot, you know, we had been going there for years. Bob, unfortunately, he passed away because he had cancer, probably about 2 years after we started going there. And some new owners took over, and it was just not the same anymore. And there's these regulars there that are very, very biphobic and just cause a lot of problems. And we don't go there anymore because they've ruined it. And, it is what it is. But I think, like I said, Ricky's parties they've given me that space and have, really changed the dynamic. But the whole point of bringing all this up is the way I feel about it truly is that in this lifestyle, there are way more bi men out there than they realize. They either deny it, flat out deny it, or they're curious, but they're uncomfortable bringing it up in a straight party scenario. And third, they're the ones that are the assholes who say the derogatory things or might give you the side eye because you're bi. They're probably by themselves. They just don't want that stigma. So
Yeah.
But,
I think it is. I mean, it is likely. I mean, it is a lot more common than it's talked about and is shared. And unfortunately,
100%.
so much shame is piled on that.
As Ricky likes to say, he says, bi women are encouraged, bi men are discouraged. But at his events, we break down those barriers and we're all equal.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. And I'm just so grateful you came on today, Jay, and shared like this.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that.
It's been amazing. There was a part where I kept thinking the only thing it's missing is you getting like revenge sex with your partner's roommates that you were all living together. I thought that's where it was going. You're like, I went home and me and Kelly and Joseph, we just started fucking all night long, and I got her back. But
well, it's funny you say that. I actually did kind of a little bit of a revenge story, not with the friends, but make a long story short. So June, what she wanted to do was she wanted to be a doctoral candidate for some program at UF. I forget what the program was. Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But anyway, she and she always had various things going on that just it just caused a lot of tension. So anyway, after she left but before I met Kitty and before I went on my little journey, I did meet this woman who was a doctoral candidate there and was basically the total opposite of what June was. This woman was blonde hair, blue eyes. She was tall. She was thin. She was a beautiful person, inside and out. She was really beautiful, wonderful person. It was about a month after June left. She calls me up and she's crying and she regrets her decision. And I was like, hey, I moved on. I'm dating this girl that's UF, candidate, blah, blah, blah. I posted pictures on Facebook, blasted it everywhere, and made sure it was known that I've moved on. And so that was kind of my revenge, if you will, my passive aggressive revenge. But yeah. So
the 20s were a good decade for all of us.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's funny you say that now because the last decade we've been doing what we've been doing, and I'm 37 now. I'll be 38 in February, and I like to joke that 40 is the new 30. So I missed out on in my 20s, having fun. I'm doing it in my 30s now. So
Love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing. Well, and maybe just to bring that full circle, we know you also do a bit of work yourself in this space.
Yes.
And you've created some events and a band and all sorts of amazing stuff. And we'd love to have you pitch it for a few minutes and tell everybody about
it. For sure. And thanks for the opportunity and give me a platform to do this because it really means a lot. And I'm glad I can reach a broader audience. Yeah. So again, going to Secrets, going to Hotspot, going to other various venues. And in Central Florida, believe it or not, considering being Florida, we have a lot of lifestyle venues I live in Volusia County now, which is Daytona Beach area. Within 2 hours of our house, we have probably a dozen or half a dozen to 8 or 9 venues. If you go north to Jacksonville, you got 2 venues up there. 3 really, because there's a BDSM club. So you got 3 venues there. You go down to Space Coast, Cocoa Beach area. There's a venue there, so that's 4. And then then you had the Hotspot, which is 5, which is here in Volusia County. Then you got in Orlando, you got Secrets, and then you have the Woodshed, which is a BDSM club. And then in Lakeland, which is halfway between Tampa and Orlando, you got the Treehouse. And then in Tampa, you have Eyes Wide Shut. And then in Tarpon Springs, you got Ricky's Buy Events parties. So yeah, we've got about 10 venues within a 2.5 hour to 3 hour drive.
Yeah, so anyone living in that area, listen up. You can go check out any of those.
Yeah, definitely go check them out. And I'll do a shameless plug of my SDC profile and all that too. So anyway, and you can contact me directly. So again, we have all these venues and all these options. But one thing I always notice about everywhere you go, especially Secrets, is that the music selection, while is good, if you like club mix and DJ mixes and all that, great time and place for that, but it gets kind of repetitive, it gets kind of old, and I can only listen to that. I can only listen to that for so much, and when they do it, it's from 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. So it's like, all right, and you're doing that two days in a row. It's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I need a break. So anyway, I decided, I'm like, you know what? There's something that can be done here. There's a need here, and the need is for live music. And being a music lover my entire life, I mean, my parents were boomers, and I grew up listening to some of the best music that was ever written and performed and recorded. So I decided, and some of my favorite bands growing up, like my dad, he would always have the Doors. It was always the Doors, Van Halen, and Jimi Hendrix. With my mom, it was always her big 3 were Pink Floyd, Carly Simon, who's like a country music star. A lot of people know who she is, but Carly Simon, and then who was the other one? Pink Floyd, Carly Simon, and Tom Petty.
Yeah.
All right. So a lot of diversity, but a lot of good music. And so I started listening to Queen. That was a big one for me. Freddie's one of my heroes, just musically, as a music icon, as a bisexual icon, and just as a general human being. He's a really very interesting person. If you have the opportunity to read up on him more than the surface level stuff you see in the media, he's just genuinely a really good person, very shy, and not the person that's portrayed. Complete opposite, really. So anyway, I identify a lot with him. Him and I are kindred spirits. I have a special connection with Freddie, even though I was only alive for 4 years at the end of his life, but I do have that special connection. That's the beauty of music, is you can connect with people who've been dead for centuries, and because they wrote this piece of music that's sound patterns arranged in a pattern, that, and you can connect with them on a spiritual level like that. To me, that's proof of a higher power, personally. But anyway, so I found this need of music, live music in the lifestyle, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to do that. So I scoured Facebook for musicians, and I found a gentleman who had a really nice setup in his garage and soundproof room. We could practice as long as we want and as late as we want. And so anyway, we formed a band. And at this point, the only audience I ever had was my steering wheel. Okay. I'd sang car ride karaoke for 20 years. I mean, start driving at 16. So yeah, 20 years by this point. And so I decided that the whole reason I got the courage to perform and sing in front of people was because I really thought about it. And I'm like, you know what? If I can have sex in front of people, I can sing in front of people. Like, it's no big deal if I'm singing, you know? So anyway, I put together this band, and it was 2 years in the making, but we had our first event, and it was a lifestyle meet and greet event. I called it the Pineapple Meet and Greet. And it was for anybody that was in the lifestyle, whether it be swinging, kink, BDSM, polyamory. It was just a blanket party. Like, didn't matter what your background was. I didn't care if you were LGBT. I didn't care, because I just wanted everybody to come together, enjoy the power of music and the positivity, and really a moment of unity, if you will. So we played 25 songs. We had a blast. We had 150 attendees, and I've been told by numerous people that when they saw me on stage, I was the epitome of joy in those moments. And so that felt nice. And then to top it all off, to help spread some positivity in the community and give back. So I'm really big about giving back, good energy and positivity. I gave away a weekend at Secrets. I gave away a room for 2 nights and 2 evening passes, because I loved going there so much, and I just decided I needed to give someone an opportunity who may have never been. So we did the drawing. It was the last thing we did of the night, and then we played like 2 or 3 more songs after that. But we did the drawing, and the couple came up on stage, and the couple that won, they had been in lifestyle for 15 years. And they've lived in Florida for almost as long, and they had never been to Secrets before.
Wow.
So I was like, that's awesome. I'm so glad I could give these people, who are very nice and very deserving, an opportunity to experience something new. And so I took care of the whole thing. I booked the room for them, bought the passes, and they're going to go, and they're going to have a good time. So
I love
it. It was a goal that, again, it was 2 years in the making, and I achieved the goal. And now I'm working on the next one, and who knows how that's going to go. That's being in a band is like dating. Okay, it's like it really is. It really is. It's like non-monogamy in a way, where communication is really big, and and being able to keep musicians in your band is really hard. So unfortunately, we're in a point right now where we're restructuring and we're figuring out new members, but once we find the next members, the next lineup, I'm going to schedule 3, 4, 5 events for next year, and I'm going to take it to the next level. I think I'm going to get some rooms so people can have a play space after the party, and I think the next big one will probably be the next step from that will be maybe a campground takeover and do like a mini music festival or something like that. So,
cool.
Super stoked for you, Jay. That's amazing.
Yeah. So. It's actually funny. I got my band T-shirt on right there. The band is called Metamore, and my company's name, or my entertainment company's name, is Metamore Entertainment. So, if anybody out there is interested, you can check us out at www.metamoreentertainment.com. That's METAMOUR entertainment.com. We're on SDC as Metamore Entertainment. So it's Metamore Entertainment minus the last T, because I guess they have a 20 character cap, and I didn't know that when I signed up. So I just put in Metamore Entertainment, and then when I went to look at the profile, it said Metamore Entertainment. I'm like, okay, whatever.
So it's that inclusivity. It's just coming in.
Right. And then we have a group on there. It's Metamore Entertainment Events, I think. And So, and then same on SLS. It's Metamore Entertainment is the group, and check us out.
Perfect.
Couple other shameless plugs while I'm here. You can check us out on Instagram as well, Metamore Entertainment. It's all one word, no spaces.
Yeah, and just
my
really quick,
friend-
links will be in the show notes for anybody. So you don't
perfect.
everything you're about to say, people can go and find them there. So no need.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. I also like to do again another shameless plug for my friend Ricky, because I know out there a lot of your listeners probably are bi-curious, gay, lesbian, trans, etc., etc. So they probably are looking for a space, a place to express and experiment in a safe environment where they won't be judged and they'll be celebrated. So his website is www.bi-events.com or bi-events.com.
Cool.
And and then I think that's the only other thing I wanted to plug, just because everybody else they can figure their stuff out.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Jay, for that and for the work.
Yeah.
You do.
Did you guys? I was gonna say, just did you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns, discussion items before we signed off here?
I mean, I feel like we could talk for hours.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's so much here, but I think for today, in the interest of everyone's time, I really, really appreciate everything that you've shared, and I hope that this is not, and I believe this is not the last time we will talk to you. I'm so excited.
Anytime you guys want to do a follow-up, I'm totally down. So
cool.
Love it.
I'm so excited to get information about the events you're throwing out there. People can look ahead on to 2025 and 2026, see what's coming. And also just, all of the positivity and joy that you've expressed today. Thank you so much for everything you shared.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having me. And I'm glad I could tell my story, at least an abridged version. I did have one other thing I wanted to plug. I'm so sorry. I actually, as part of the bi positivity and things and my journey, I actually have an Etsy store as well, and I sell on there bi positive clothing and also band merch and things like that. And that is. I'll send you guys a link and you can put it in your show notes, but it's just bi positivity on Etsy. So check it out.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll find something you like.
Perfect. We will definitely put that link in there. And then just, again, thank you, Jay, for coming on, for doing not just the work you do, but like pumping the passion in. And I love hearing that, you took a dream for 2 years and made it a reality, and that it was a booming success, 150 people showing up to an event and loving the party. What more?
First event, 150 people. I mean, you couldn't ask for more.
No, that's incredible. So congratulations on that. And
thank you.
And keep kicking ass, and we'll be here cheering for you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Thank you so much,
thanks.
Jay.
Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And to everybody else out there, stay positive and love your life.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jay. And we're back. Thank you again, Jay, for everything. It was so lovely talking to you, and we're excited to get your story out there. And thank you again, too, for hosting all of the amazing events that you do.
And forming a band.
Yes.
We don't get too many people who are like, I'm going to make a non-monogamy band.
That's super cool. A quick reminder to anyone listening, go over and check out the podcast show notes. There you can find links to all of Jay's work and go check out some of his events.
And echoing the gratitude from my side as well, Jay. Thank you. Thank you for coming on, for sharing your story, and we can't wait to do it again.
A quick reminder that our next virtual speedfriending event is actually tonight. That's January 15th. Come hang out with us. If you happen to miss this one and you're like, oh, darn it, I missed it. Don't worry. There's another one in February. Just go to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, and you can find all of the information right there.
But don't miss it.
Yes. Come join us tonight.
You don't want to miss this. And next week, we're back in your ears with another interview. We're talking to Elena about her relationship story and how she sort of wound up in a place where maybe non-monogamy isn't what she wants today, but she definitely gave it a try.
You're going to want to come back and listen in 1 week.
We'll see you then.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.